Hello students, welcome once again. We are doing Nizam Ezekiel's poem, Enterprise. And this is the part 2 of this session. And today we'll be doing line by line explanation of the poem. And I've already told you there's this poem Enterprise. It describes a metaphorical journey of some enthusiastic people, of which the poet himself is a part. So this journey can also be compared to the human condition on earth, which is full of difficulties and failures. And this pilgrimage is said to achieve a specific goal. The poem consists of 6 stanzas having 5 lines each. And today we'll be doing first 3 stanzas. So let's start. It started as a pilgrimage, exalting minds and making all the burdens light. The second stage explored but did not test the call. The sun beat down to match our rage. We stood it very well, I thought, observed and put down copious notes on things the peasants sold and bought, the way the serpents and the goats, 3 cities where a sage had taught. But when the differences arose on how to cross a desert patch, we lost a friend whose stylish prose was quite the best of all a batch. A shadow falls on us and grows. So in the first stanza that is of 5 lines. Each stanza is of 5 lines. So in the first stanza, the poet says that he went on a pilgrimage along with a number of other people. That how he says it started as a pilgrimage, exalting minds and making all the burdens light. That is, they all were so enthusiastic and their minds were so full of joy and excitement that they did not feel the troubles burden. So it's making all the burdens light. That is, whatever burden there was, they took it very lightly. The second stage explored but did not test the call. So first stage was that all the problems and difficulties, like we always do when we start a new journey, we are all enthusiastic, we are all excited, and we don't care about the difficulties which we face. There's all the problems and difficulties that they were yet to face seemed to be nothing before their enthusiasm. And this was the first stage of their pilgrimage or their journey. And this stage can be compared to the early youth of men. That is, if we see that this poem is an allegorical poem, metaphorical poem, so this stage can be compared to the early youth of men, in which he is quite innocent and unaware of the problems and failures of adulthood. Then, with this enthusiasm and vigor, they enter the second stage of the pilgrimage. The second stage of the journey was full of troubles and difficulties, like when we are small children, we don't care about the difficulties and problems, and that too we hardly have any difficulties and problems. They are very minor ones. And when you become a teenager or when you become adult, then you have different sorts of problems. So this second stage of the journey was full of troubles and difficulties. The sun that symbolizes harshness of nature was also burning hot. Like, let's read the second stanza. Second stanza is, we stood it very well, I thought, observed and put down copious notes on things the peasants sold and bought, the way of serpents and of goats, 3 cities where a sage had taught. So, in this stanza, the poet says that he thought that they succeeded well in facing all the difficulties which were coming in their way. So he says that we stood it very well. We stood it very well means we stood very firm, that we succeeded in facing all the difficulties which were coming on our way. I thought. That's the he thought. It is in a autobiographical note in this poem. observed and put down copious notes. So, on their way, they kept themselves busy by noting down the things that were sold and bought by the farmers. That is, they were keeping themselves busy and taking notes of all the activities in their lives. They also noted down the ways of snakes and goats, as well as the description of the three cities where a hermit was teaching lessons. However, they didn't notice what he was teaching, but he says these three cities were a sage. Sage is a hermit, the holy man, and a knowledgeable man. So, the way of serpents and of goats, three cities where a sage had taught. So, in this stanza, the poet wants to tell how people get distracted from their goal when they are on the journey of their life. That is, he is describing the journey of life, and he's saying instead of they had set out a goal, but while on the journey they get distracted by these sorts of small petty distractions, and they could not focus on the main goal. So they waste their energy in doing useless things. So the third stanza is, but when the differences arose on how to cross a desert patch, we lost a friend whose stylish prose was quite the best of all our batch. A shadow falls on us and grows. So, what happened is, soon the pilgrims reached a stage where differences of opinions arose among them, and there was a lot of argument about how to cross the challenging landscape. Now, desert patch over here, just say desert patch literally means a desert ground, Registan, but it metaphorically, it also means a challenging situation. That when there is a challenging situation, there were different opinions that how to overcome that difficulty or that challenge which life had given them. So he says that soon they started arguing themselves among themselves, and they started having differences. So as a result, what happened that one of the members of the group who wrote the most stylish prose and was intellectual, he left the group and he went on his own way. That is, they lost some of their important partners, important members of the group. That is, there was a differences of opinion. So thus a shadow of disagreement fell onto their enterprise. And then it continues to grow. He says, a shadow falls on us and grows. Over here is the shadow. What is the shadow? Shadow is actually parchai. But what sort of a shadow it is? It is a shadow of disagreement. That is, they disagreed so much that they had to part the ways. That is, वो इतना ज़्यादा डिसएग्रीमेंट हो गया था कि उन्होंने रास्ते अलग अलग कर लिए थे और वो अलग अलग चले गए. दैट इज़, वो ग्रुप टूट गया. सो ये एक छाया थी जो उनके ग्रुप पे पड़ रही थी, एंड इट वॉज ग्रोइंग. दैट इज़, द डिसएग्रीमेंट वॉज ग्रोइंग. एंड दिस shadow of disagreement fell onto their enterprise and continued to grow. That is, the ego of the people weakens the integrity of pilgrimage. And what happened is that when we feed our egos too much, then egos lead us in different ways. So here, due to this ego, these people, they parted ways. And this ego weakens the integrity of the pilgrimage. Pilgrimage actually means, what is the meaning of pilgrimage? Pilgrimage is not any ordinary journey. This is a journey for some religious purpose. यानी यात्रा और तीर्थ यात्रा, देयर इज अ डिफरेंस. यात्रा अपन रोज करते हैं, पर तीर्थ यात्रा किसी धार्मिक कार्य के लिए की जाती है. धार्मिक उद्देश्य उसका होता है, धार्मिक स्थल होते हैं जहाँ की जो यात्रा की जाती है. दैट इज नोन एज pilgrimage. So he said it started as a pilgrimage. वैसे तो it started with lot of integrity, lot of devotion. It was like a pilgrimage. जैसे वो यात्रा जो कर रहे थे एक तरह से वो तीर्थ यात्रा टाइप थी. In the beginning it was all was good, all were excited, all were enthusiastic, and whatever difficulties came, they were very they faced it very joyfully. But slowly they started getting tired, the differences started arising, and a point came when differences arose so much that the group had to be parted. And especially they lost the most intelligent of them, the person, the one who wrote most stylish prose. That is, person who was an intellectual, and that is, he was some important person. And when you lose an important person, or you can say some important element in your life, then you feel a vacuum within you. So in this journey, they lost that one person who was very important to them, and maybe their egos clashed and they parted their journeys. So this poem is of 6 stanzas, and today we have done 3 stanzas. So I hope you have understood this poem. Go through these stanzas and try to understand. It is slightly difficult because it also has a philosophical note in this. It is not as simple. The language is quite simple if you take it at face value, but when you start understanding the deeper meaning of this poem seems a bit complex. So, but we will be doing it in another session. So the first half we have done in this, and the second half we will do in the next session. So go through this poem and try to understand it. That's all for now. Thank you.